All right, Metal Summoners, we're bringing it down towards the end of an awesome day, a very, very fun day, great conversations and great people. And as we get towards the end, myself and Angel, of course, can't think of any more fun that we can have than bring on, our good friend, a friend of the show, and then just a personal friend as well. So we get to spend a little bit of time with Ace Von Johnson, my brother. So good to see you as always, man, for sure. And of course, we know that events like this can be very trying. There's just a lot going on, so much action, a lot of different ways to get pulled. And, of course, you are currently very active as well because you got the Guns Tour. You've been, you mentioned the charity event that you just did. And then, of course, Nashville is Nashville, and there's always a lot going on right there. So overall, man, how are you doing? How are you feeling? And again, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm good, man. I'm a little jet lagged. We've seen Massachusetts last night, New Bedford with Ricky Rockman. We did a charity event, created a couple covers, super loosey punk rock. But we raised a ton of money for our respective charities.
Oh, that's awesome.
And that was for a really great cause. It was a lot of fun. And flew in this morning to come to the rock cause, and then I leave in like 5 minutes for the LAGUNS tour. Like a week. So just try to collect myself over the next couple of days and hit the road, support the new record. And that's it for today.
No, absolutely. And of course, for anybody who's simply not familiar, what's the charity that you're involved with that you did for that?
Ricky raised funds for 988, the Suicide Prevention Line, which is the what he's supporting on his annual Ricky drop. And then mine, I volunteered at a shelter here in Nashville, Matt. And so it's for friends of Matt. And it takes care of the myriad of things there. But so yeah, happy to be able to raise some funds.
Absolutely. Getting out on the road very shortly again with LA Guns, and of course you've got Leopard Skin that you guys are promoting. How has it been, with new music? It's always got to be exciting when you've got new things to play and additions to the catalog. So how has that been going?
Good. Yeah, we're working to kinks out on a couple of the songs for the tour. Obviously, with an extensive catalog like LA Guns, not much of it will be featured, but it will rotate through 2, 3, 4 new songs every album cycle for the live show, along with obviously the quintessential songs and set lists of the albums, if you will. And it's exciting to get out there and see some familiar faces and do the rock show, do the damn thing, as I say, and support the record.
Absolutely, no, for sure. Because you're coming through the area. I'm thinking the Sunday show that you're doing with Blues Vultures and Defiant, I think is the one that's going to work best. Just between
get up with Defiant for
oh, very cool, man. Yeah, because between me and Megan working, you play Ramstead Annapolis on like a Tuesday, and it was like that's kind of trickier to get out there versus like Sunday. I was like, where she's off, but I'm off in the early afternoon. I think that might be the way. Plus, it would be a new venue for us to check out. So we're definitely looking forward to coming out and supporting the Guns Tour. Absolutely, man. For sure. No, definitely, man. Angel, let's kick it over to you, my friend.
I just want to say congrats on the new record. Definitely love it. Well, who came up with the concept for the video? Because it was really fun because it kind of had like the 2 parts to it.
I'm pretty sure that was Jeff Train, who Jackass made. Directed and produced it, I should say. I think, but I don't, I show up and somebody says, this is what you're doing. So it's all right. So I admittedly don't really know.
No, because it was almost like 2 parts to the video. And I was like, damn, we got to wait.
Yeah.
Nowadays, in the Google area.
Floppy,
right.
Like kind of fun.
Yeah.
Rather than like, we're a serious rock band. It's like, okay, we're kind of poking fun at ourselves, having a good time. Some Wayne World moments, and bouncing around Hollywood and everything. It's a lot of fun to shoot.
But I thought it was fun doing the whole, to be continued because nowadays you don't really have that much anymore. So definitely love the album.
Thank you.
One thing to give LA Guns credit is that, wow, every 2 years, you guys are putting out, like, a new record, No one's really trying to be like a classic band. You guys are just constantly putting out records.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's great. I think it's great to at least, if the fans are interested in new music from a legacy band, LA Guns or anybody, at least to continue offering versus some bands where they only have 1 or 2 or 3 albums and then that's it. Or maybe one contemporary record. I think it's great, speaking as a fan rather than in the band. I think it's great that at least it's being offered, and obviously the Instagram is going to play all the hits, so, but if you want to deep dive into the new material, at least it's definitely take.
No, absolutely, for sure, man, absolutely. Ace, you know how much of a fan I am of your previous work with bands like Neon Coven. When to keep that kind of musical, like, just juices flowing and stuff, is there anything kind of outside of LA Guns that you've been like tinkering with a little bit, or do you do more like kind of jams with colleagues and mates and kind of thing? But are there any other musical projects that you can tell us about, if any?
I'm trying not to do anything.
Gotcha.
But I write a lot, and most of the time it doesn't go anywhere, or it just doesn't hold on clearly. But I am, for maybe the last year and a half, I've been writing, bouncing ideas around Christian Gucci, Stone Sour, and formerly Black Star Riders, CMFT codes. So Christian and I have been sending each other some demos, and I believe we're going to get together over the summer and work some stuff together. Whether they'll be called, whether they'll come out, I don't know. But I do really like the stuff that we're working on. It's definitely more common influences, I would guess you would imagine, than maybe stuff that goes, to LA Guns older feel.
Sure.
And dare I say horror. But yeah, so look forward to that. But stuff comes and goes and pops up, and maybe I guess on an album or I write with somebody and then it comes out or it doesn't come out, and I admittedly forget about it sometimes, or it happens and then I'm on to the next thing. But right now it's kind of focused on LA schedule for time being and trying to write with my buddy, and that's all I can think of.
No, absolutely. Well, I mean, you know me. That's definitely going to be right up my alley. I mean, Megan and I were at Wednesday 13 only a few nights ago, so always love that kind of thing for sure. So that's always a good thing when it comes to that. When it comes to just like just other like fun events type things. So if anybody who's just familiar with your socials over the years, and just other things that you popped up in, you've got relationships with things like Creepsville and stuff like that. Megan and I are going to Salem at the end of May for the Endless Night Vampire Ball that they're doing, the salon that they're doing. Do you ever, go to any of those type of events if you have the time to do them? Like, does stuff like that appeal to you, the kind of more formal, horror-ish type things?
For several years, I was doing horror conventions frequently. Rock and Shaw, Days of the Dead, Spears and Care, probably 2 or 3 other ones. I tried to link up with Full Moon here in Nashville. I know the owners, but they haven't formally invited me, and I would love to. But I haven't done anything like that that's horror related in a while.
It's been a little minute since Killer Waves.
Yeah, let's not go there. I did some scoring and voice work for Joe Bob Briggs' Last Rider on Shudder for a couple episodes.
Nice.
And I had hoped that would parlay into the horror market, besides just the bands that I'm known for. Like, you may remember me from the Christmas special with Joe Bob. I can't remember what the episode was called, whatever. And it did. But there's some stuff I would love to do, and then some of it doesn't really interest me.
Sure.
I like doing stuff like this for Days of the Dead or Rock and Shock, because it's great to network with friends or maybe rub elbows with people I'm a fan of, musicians or actors or writers or what it may be. But I'm not actively looking for anything like that. But if it came up, depending, I might take it.
No, very cool. Like Megan and I were in Gettysburg, PA, not that long ago for Creature Feature,
Yeah.
and that was a lot of fun. And one of the things that got me super excited was, and you mentioned his company already, is I'm a big Charles Band fan. I'm a Full Moon guy. Subspecies is my favorite series, but I'm also a big fan of Ginger Dead Man, Killjoy. This could be a whole Castle Freak. I love Castle Freak, all that Castle Freak, Evil Ed,
Yeah.
lurking fear. This would be a whole other episode, but no, it's that same kind of thing. It was like I was super excited because like I hadn't had the opportunity to meet Charles, so it was just fun to like get to chit chat. I did, so I got to. He was really really nice. He was very cool. He signed. I have one of those old OG like Killjoy dolls in the box, and he signed that. He signed my subspecies because yay for vampires. I mean, and all that kind of stuff. But no, he was really, really cool. And the other thing that was also cool, and hopefully it would be kind of a formal invitation as well, because this was only a week before his Church of Chills thing he just did, and Joe Bob was there as one of the featured guests and stuff. So hopefully something like that can find its way to intertwine as well for you, because that would just be like super duper cool as well. So there's
I have a little pull with Darcy, Diana, and I ran into them something here in Nashville, and I mentioned to Joe Bob. I was talking to him. My cousin was a movie director in Northwestern, Mando Firefighter Class A1, and we were talking about that. And I said, I like keeping this. By the way, I wrote music for whatever segment, and I think he thought I was like making it up. So he was like, "Oh, okay, sure you did." And I was like, "Good." And John Brennan does the music for the show, and I are friends and work together for Patience. And but it just, it's like, all right, I don't want to be, awkward here, but I thought he was like, "Oh, you did that? That's you." And I was like, "You did the karaoke video. You're pretending to play guitar." I'm like, "That's me," And he was like, "Oh, And I was like, "All right, fair enough." They can't all be winners, but I do love Joe Bob. I mean, I grew up in the '90s watching Monster Movies.
Yep.
Big fan.
Oh yeah, no,
Really cool with the show.
Absolutely. And before I kick it back over to Angel, how has it been? It's been you've been in Nashville now for a little while, and just how has the change in culture been for you?
Well, I think it's. I'm not in my 20s anymore, so I think it lends itself to, I bought a house, and I volunteered at a shelter, I'm not at the Rainbow 8 days a week. You know what I mean? So it's I did what I did when I lived in LA, and now I do what I do in Nashville, and I love it here, and I, just live in miss LA. And I said, well, by the time I think about missing it or whatever, I'll be back.
Yeah.
I'll be back there in 2 months, and I'll be back there again 3 months after that. And I'll probably be back there in December, etc., etc. So by the time I think about it, I love it here, and it's nice to make a break from. I've lived in LA my whole life. I did that. It's like I don't know how much longer I could do that lifestyle. And we all grow up, and I'm still, still collect records and the stuff I like, but I just, instead of renting a shitty apartment in Hollywood, now I own a house.
Right.
So, to me, not humble brag, but to me, it's like, that's what I would want for myself. If I could have done it sooner, I would have done it sooner. But I love it here. It's really great community as far as the music goes. They're very welcoming and warm, and there's a lot of great events. There's no shortage of music or things to do or conventions or people to see. And I miss some of my family in LA, but I kind of did that. I wrote that chapter already. So now I'm in that for y'all.
No, absolutely. Angel, anything final for yourself, my friend?
When you go out on tour, what's your favorite guitars to take out?
My favorite guitars?
Yeah, to take out.
Probably, I call it the Tony. It's this ice tea yellow Les Paul version. Tony Higby from Tom Peters Band sold it to me, and then he gave me this vintage '60s water slide decal. This is Pinnacle sitting on a record, and so he sold me the guitar, gave me this decal, so I call it the Tony, and that's my go-to guitar. But always holds.
Right on, man. Absolutely. Well, Ace, love you, brother.
Love you, bro.
Absolutely.
Thank you always, man. Thank you so much for hanging out. We appreciate you guys. We're going to come back on shortly, Metal Summoners, to wrap up Rockin' Pod. We are the Metal Summit. More importantly, he is Ace Von Johnson.